We now welcome on from IndyStar.com, Joel Erickson, covers the Colts. You can follow him on Twitter at Joel A. Erickson. Joel, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, no problem, guys. Good to be on.
So, Joel, let's dive right in and find out a little bit more about this Colts #1 ranked defense. What can the Browns expect on Sunday?
Well, I think the biggest thing is it's going to start up front. And I know, obviously, the Browns are excited about the way their offensive line's playing. I'm kind of looking at the Browns' offensive line as a real test for this Colts defensive line. They've got DeForest Buckner in the inside. He's only got 1.5 sacks, but he has 8 quarterback hits, and he's kind of wrecked a whole bunch of games the last 3 games, really. And it makes everything else look good for Justin Houston, Nico Autry. All those guys get one-on-ones and they win them. Opposing teams have done a lot of stuff like trying to move the pocket, trying to keep them away, but it really all starts up front. I don't think they've really seen an offensive line that's as talented as Cleveland's yet. So it's going to be a good test of good on good, I think, on Sunday.
Is this D legit? Is this really one of the best defenses in the league, do you think? Or have they just not run into the Odells and the Kareems and those kind of guys yet?
I think it's a little bit of both. And I think us on the Colts beat side of things are looking at this game as sort of a litmus test for this defense. The Vikings have some talent, but Kirk Cousins is Kirk Cousins, and he was really bad when he was here in Indy. The Bears have been playing well, but they're the Bears, and who knows? One thing that's impressive is just how few yards they're giving up. They're like 60 yards ahead of everybody else per game for the league lead. So you think it's real in some way, but the question is, I think for Colts writers and Colts fans is this defense San Francisco good, or is it just taken a step and been like moved up into the top 10? And I think we find out probably this week, although it may be a little bit of a hard test based on how many injuries the Colts have at linebacker right now.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up because that was the next question I wanted to ask. Darius Leonard, obviously kind of I guess you could call him the heart and soul of that defense. I mean, if he's unable to go on Sunday, what does that do kind of overall to that group?
I think it really hurts them in pass coverage and turnover production. He doesn't have any turnovers this year, but previously in his career, he's been a big play guy. 12 sacks in 2 years, 7 interceptions, 6 forced fumbles. He's been that guy for them. And when he doesn't have a few in the first couple of games, you're thinking, oh, it's going to come. But so if you don't have it, you lose that chance of the Darius Leonard big play. I think the other thing is, if he doesn't play, I think it probably makes Kevin Stefanski want to get out on the edge a little bit more, because Leonard is the guy who runs that down. Everybody else stretches it out, and then when the running back makes his cut, that's usually Leonard filling in there. And so I think that's probably the other thing is it maybe pushes the Browns running game a little wider if he's not in the game.
Tell us a little bit about the fact that, they lead the NFL with 7 interceptions. I see our old friend TJ Carey has a couple of those. So talk to us a little bit about all those picks.
Well, it's kind of started up with the defensive line. The last 3 quarterbacks they played, Kirk Cousins, Sam Darnold, and then Nick Foles, obviously not a murderer's row there, but they very obviously, as the game has gone on, gotten more and more uncomfortable in the pocket. And while Xavier Rhodes has 2 picks where he kind of baited Sam Darnold a little bit, a lot of those picks so far are the quarterback doesn't get his feet set, makes a bad throw goes errant, and then they end up with the interception. So a lot of it, I think, is probably dependent on the Browns' offensive line. If they keep Mayfield in rhythm, he's not going to have as many of those. But the line is creating the interceptions right now.
How about Phillip? How is Phillip playing? What is he doing well?
Rivers is playing, I think, better than the national perception of Rivers is. He had 2 bad interceptions in the first game, but since then, he's really been the driving force of this offense. I think the concerns right now on the Colts offense is that they're not running the ball the way that we expected them to. But the passing game, he's been accurate. He's been able to push the ball down the field. They're averaging a lot of yards per attempt. He's completing 72% of his passes. One of the things that will help them against Garrett is that Rivers has been every week one of the top quarterbacks in the league in terms of time to throw. He gets the ball out very, very fast. It's very hard to sack.
So we're wondering now, if you don't mind us putting you on the spot, do you have a pick for this game?
Yeah, I do. I'm leaning towards the Colts. I feel like I'm starting to believe in their defense a little bit. And I know their competition hasn't been great. But even if they just hold the Browns to like half doing, that's still only a 20-point game. And I think the Browns will score a little bit more than that. I kind of got it as a pretty close game, like 27-24, that kind of score. But yeah, I'm starting to believe in the Colts defense a little bit, just because the way they've beaten these last three teams, they've never really had any life to them at all. And even with all the talent the Browns have and the offensive line the Browns have, there's a long way to go for the Colts defense to start getting into a part where it's a problem, because they've been so dominant so far.
I've got to say, we're not used to covering the Browns. Hearing the Browns called like a test for a team. I think that more than anything is the biggest sign of progress for the Cleveland Browns, that you're referring to them as a test for this defense.